You're listening to the Whole Hog Sports Podcast. And now, here's your host, Matt Jones.
Busy day here in Fayetteville. We got baseball at Baum-Walker Stadium this afternoon with Arkansas State back in town. Basketball tonight against Texas A&M. Won't spend a lot of time today talking about baseball. We'll save that for when Bubba Carpenter is in studio tomorrow. But just a quick word on the loss to Arkansas State yesterday. Razorbacks lose 12-4. First off, I think Arkansas State's a pretty good team. They've got some hitters who are really good. You know, some older guys, and they hit well in that game yesterday. For Arkansas, I think that, there are areas to be, I don't even know about worried is the right word, but there's certainly areas
to be noted
that need to get better for them. Two things. First off, it's the second week of the season, or still not even quite 2 weeks into the season. The other thing is I'd like to see them at full strength before I really pass a whole lot of judgment on that team. You think about yesterday, they had a guy playing out of position at left field. That ended up costing them 3 runs with a misplayed fly ball that would have been the last out of an inning, and then a run scores on that play, and there's a 2-run home run after it. You got a guy playing DH who had never played in a college game before. He makes a base running mistake that cost him at least 1 run and possibly could have cost him more runs depending on what could have happened if that game was allowed to go on. They got several guys out with the flu. I think strep throat might be something that's affecting the team too.
Strep throat is awful.
Damian Ruiz, he's dealing with a calf injury. We saw what he did in Arlington in terms of being first off, I thought he played defense well in Arlington, but he was a table setter, really good on-base guy for them. But Arkansas and Arkansas State, midweek games, they're unpredictable. I call it midweek madness. You just never know what you're going to get in a midweek game. Look at the games like yesterday.
4 of the top 6, yeah.
4 of the top 6 teams in the country lost to unranked, in-state opponents at home. You had the Arkansas State game. Georgia Tech got beat by Georgia State pretty handily in Atlanta. San Diego State went to UCLA and won. And LSU lost its first game of the year, lost to McNeese State. I think the final score ended up being like 7-6, but I think that game was like 7-2 at one point, and LSU, kind of got back in it at the end.
The ghost of Will Wade.
So, it's just you just never know what you're going to get in midweek games.
Yep.
They're as unpredictable, I think, a game as exists.
Yeah. No, I think that was proven correct yesterday. So.
All right, so again, we'll talk more baseball when Bubba Carpenter's in here. I think we've hit Anthony's capacity limit for baseball discussion. We're going to talk Razorback basketball in this Texas A&M game tonight at Bud Walton, an 8:00 tip-off for the Razorbacks and the Aggies. Bucky Ball comes to Fayetteville. Bucky McMillan in his first year at Texas A&M, used to be at Samford. Anthony, you've talked about him, when he was at Samford. You really liked his style. For people who don't know what Bucky Ball is and what kind of challenges A&M presents, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so first I'll plug the advance I wrote. I talked to TJ Cleveland, former Arkansas guard, former Arkansas assistant coach under Mike Anderson, who's now on staff at Texas A&M, and I asked him about Bucky Ball and what it's like to coach it, and he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, it's great to coach because I used to play a pretty similar system."
Yeah.
Or it was just the same thing called a different thing. He compared it a lot to Nolan Richardson's 40 Minutes of Hell. And yeah, they full court press the entire game. It's, I was a soccer player, so I had to be really well conditioned to run up and down a field, a 120-yard field for 90 minutes. I don't know that I would last 10 minutes of playing Bucky Ball. The way they press, they'll press everything. They press, misses, they press inbounds. It's 40 minutes nonstop of full court press. And when that's the defense, they try to force turnovers and get out in transition, and that'll be an interesting thing because obviously Arkansas is the number 1 turnover offense in the country. They don't give the ball away. So that'll be an interesting matchup to watch. But then on offense, it's a very heavy analytic approach. Their average 2-point attempt 2-point attempt offense, their average attempt from 2 is 4 feet from the basket, which is very close. It's the number 4 team in the country in that statistic. And then, they're heavy on ball movement. They're the number 12 team in the country with assists per made field goal. And then a heavy 3-point bombardment as well, with I think 47% of their field goal attempts come from the 3-point line, which is pretty heavy. But it's fast, it's fun, it's heavy press on defense. It's fun to watch, and Bucky McMillan's been doing this. I mean, since before he was at Samford. Before he was at Samford, he was a high school coach. So it's a really cool story too, from the Samford AD, taking a risk, hiring a high school guy, and him kind of ascending this crazy amount now to being in the SEC just in his 6th year as a college head coach. So it's a fun story. It's a fun style. It's all that.
I think we kind of pegged what was going to happen with A&M a few weeks back. They got off to this great start in the SEC. They were 7-1, but we said, hey, look at their schedule. Like the front end of the schedule was the light end of the schedule. Very, very back heavy schedule for them, and they went it. They fought through it for a couple of weeks. 4 straight losses. They've won 2 in a row over Ole Miss and Oklahoma. But I just you look at them, and for Arkansas, it's a chance tonight to basically pull the plug on their conference championship hopes. It's a very faint pulse that A&M has, 3 games back of Florida right now. Arkansas 2 games back. A&M, kind of got it by reverse. Could do the same thing to Arkansas if they come in and they win in Fayetteville tonight. I guess I'm saying all that to say it's a big game in the conference standings with this Florida game coming up this weekend for Arkansas. I don't know that I think that this Arkansas team overlooks anybody. I haven't really seen any indications of that this season. But if there was a game where you could maybe kind of be peeking around the corner a little bit, this could maybe be the one.
Who's that up there? No. Yeah, no. I mean, maybe. I mean, like you said, I don't think we've seen that, really at all this season. So I think that is, it is certainly possible. I mean, Florida is Florida. I mean, to me, Florida right now is head and shoulders the best team in the SEC, 2-game lead in first place. Tricky game at Texas tonight for the Gators, but yeah, it's certainly a big one. I mean, A&M, like you said, the title chances, are on life support, if not hospice care at this point. But it's
I wouldn't go that far.
They're 3 games back with 4 games to play, so it's a slim chance for A&M, and it's an interesting place to be, and but regardless of title aspirations, I mean, you obviously want to have the best seed possible for the SEC tournament as well. You want to get that double bye and not play for the first 2 days of the tournament, and be as well rested as you can be going into those games to try to give yourself a better shot at competing for the auto bid. And for A&M, I mean, there's not a lot of substance in the non-conference schedule, which is maybe why people weren't fully sold on them when they were 7-1, and so. But I mean, no like terrible losses by any means. Oklahoma State's not a great loss, but I mean, SMU and UCF are their other 2 losses in non-conference play, and both those teams look like tournament teams right now. So, yeah, it's a big game for sure in the title race, and as as well for seeding purposes as well.
Style wise, what's the closest Arkansas seen to this A&M? I remember Houston pressed them quite a bit. It felt like in that game up in New Jersey. Have they seen anything else quite like that defensively?
Defensively, it's not Alabama, because Alabama's defense is not great. And not that A&M is rated 43rd in defensive efficiency, so it's not like it's been the best defense in the world, but they press heavily and stuff like that. Probably, I mean, it feels inarticulate to say Houston, because Houston's defense is Houston's defense. It's been pretty much one of the best since Kelvin Sampson's been there. So, and it's a really unique approach to a press as well. I mean, they're pressing misses. They're not, letting you bring the ball up the floor just after like a quick, try to get the rebound, maybe a steal as you bring the rebound down. No, they're in your face the entire game. So it's kind of unique in that sense. But yeah, I don't know that there is a single defense they've played that you can sit there and say it's similar to this, because I mean, there's not really a ton of defenses that are similar to it. I mean, Chuck Martin said it yesterday. It's like it's hard to simulate because nobody really does it. So Arkansas doesn't really do it. Nobody they've played really presses the way that A&M presses. So it's hard to compare. Is basically what I'm saying.
Isaiah Sealy probable for this game tonight. What does that mean for Arkansas?
I mean, it gives you an extra body, right? I mean, he didn't play against Missouri, but he was doubtful going into that game. But it's maybe a break glass in case of an emergency kind of.
I think you got to use him. I think what Carter Knox said, you got to use him. It's not just an emergency use with him. It's I understand what you're saying, but it's like I think you gotta plan on him being in the rotation if he's healthy enough to do it.
Yeah, and I mean when he plays, like he's kind of a ball magnet, kind of like when he plays, he's utilized in a lot of the possessions. He gets the ball on 21% of possessions when he's on the floor, which is a pretty high rate. It's just that he hasn't been on the floor a ton this season. He's played 10% of the available minutes. But when he's on the floor, like he gets the ball at a pretty high clip. So when you're in these press breaking situations, which they are going to be in tonight, a lot just with the way A&M plays, he could be an outlet for stuff like that. So there's a world in which he gets some good minutes and is effective as a press breaking option. So yeah, I think that's probably if he's to see the floor tonight, which is very possible. I think that's probably the biggest role that you would see him play in, just because he finds ways to get the ball. And I mean, some of that is down to, him kind of coming into the end of games, playing with, a lot of the other reserves. So he's going to be the go-to guy when he's on the floor in those positions. But I think we saw it a little bit with the LSU and Mississippi State games in which he was a big player in those games, that he's a guy that they trust with the ball in his hands, and he's a guy who gets the ball at a pretty decent clip, and I think can be a press breaking option.
How about Billy Richmond? 25, 20, and 21 the last 3 games. It reminds me a little bit, and it's earlier in the season, but it reminds me a little bit of what you saw with Trevin Brazile last year, where he came on and it's like, whoa, this is a revelation what you have from this guy offensively. Can he sustain this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, can you go out and expect him to, score 20 every night? I don't know that you can do that, but, I think it's 5-6 games in a row that he scored in double figures. So I think that's becoming a more and more consistent.
Basically, since Carter Knox went out with the injury. I mean, that's the point that you can, or the route that you can look to and say that's when Billy Richmond became a better scorer. And I don't know if that's because the minutes have gone up. I don't know if that's because they've looked at him and said, "Hey, we need more from you." Maybe he just said, "I'm gonna, I'm gonna do something different here." But boy, I'm surprised honestly with the 3 straight 20-point games from him. Not that I didn't think he could score like that some. It's just, again, we've never. What was his career high before the Auburn game?
16.
Yeah, and so now it's all of a sudden
St. John's in the NCAA tournament.
Who could have expected that a guy who's had 16 points as his career high for over a year and a half goes for 25, 21, and 20 in 3 straight games? This has been pretty incredible to watch.
Yeah, and I mean he's shown a lot of progression. I think in his scoring. His jump shot has improved. He hit 2 threes against Missouri, which, I mean, he's not a lethal 3-point shooter by any means. He's shooting 25% from 3 this season, but it becomes an extra option, right? I mean, you can't just sag off and let him shoot those like Missouri did in that game and paid for it. So I mean, that's an option. I mean, his mid-range jumpers improved a lot, but his finishing at the rim is up to 77%, up from 67% last year. So he's that's a very significant improvement.
His ability to get to the rim is amazing.
Yes, it is. He's
amazing.
A top 1% athlete, it seems, a lot of times, and his ability to
he's not
drive
scared. He's not scared. I think that's what sets him apart. Is he's not one of these $1 million athletes, so to speak. I don't know what he gets paid, but he's not one of these athletes that you're looking at and you're saying that's a surefire NBA draft prospect. you got the whole Darren Peterson thing going up at KU, and he's tapping himself out and a weird situation.
It's a very weird situation.
You don't get that with Billy Richmond. I mean, this guy, there's probably one or two times per game, at least one time per game it feels like, and sometimes multiple, where you're wondering, like, are you going to get up from what you just did and what you just did to your body, and bounces up
time
and
he's back and ready to go.
It's like Tigger. It's like he just bounces right up.
Yeah, and I mean, like, his ability, like, one of the things that impresses me the most about Billy Richmond that I don't think gets a lot of, I guess, attention is his ability to adjust midair.
Yeah,
like and we saw it
impressive
in the Alabama game, especially. Like, he was going up, attacking the basket, and then Aiden Sherrill did a nice job of closing down the look and contesting what would have been a shot, but he adjusted midair and found Malik Thomas open in the corner for an open three that he made, and he did it. He created his own shot doing it, and it's hard to put into words, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that impresses me the most that doesn't really get talked about a ton.
Billy Richmond. I don't know, if reporters are allowed to have favorite, whatever. He is my favorite player that I have, like just in terms of like having enjoyment watching someone play basketball that I've seen at Arkansas in a long time. He's really
very fun to watch. Yeah,
I mean, and I know he's not the best player on the team. Acuff's going to be a top NBA draft prospect. All this, like, it is so much fun to watch that guy play because you can just, it's the type of hustle and determination that I think people just really appreciate watching in a basketball player.
Absolutely. Yeah, now you're having the offensive production come along with it. And I mean, John Calipari said it after I think it was after the Missouri game or after the game before that. He's like, if he adds a more consistent jump shot, like, how do you defend him?
Is he a draft prospect this year?
Potentially. It's probably not a first round pick just because of how deep this draft class is.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised to see him test the waters just because, I mean, I think that's the smart thing to do. Just go and see, and hear what these NBA guys are going to tell you, which I think is very valuable just overall. But I mean, you can see there's a lot of things that NBA teams like about Billy Richmond.
But I think
his ability to finish, his passing ability is something that his ability to get in, like, work well in crowded spaces, is something as well. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off either, since we're being so polite. But it's the lack of a jump shot. That's, and it came along against Missouri at least. He hit a couple of threes in that game, but I would think that that's something that's working against him for the same reasons that you would say there are reasons you could see him being a pro prospect. I think there's a lot of reasons you could see him being a guy that sticks in college for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I just think about him, like, if he comes back, say, next year, or if he, for some reason comes back for a 4th year, holy cow, you're talking about this guy is going to be one of the all-time fan favorites, I think, at Arkansas. Yeah. I really do.
No, for sure. Yeah.
We want to tell you about our friends at Bentonville Glass. You can come by and see them at 507 South Main in Bentonville, or online at bentonvilleglass.com. They've been serving their community since 1971. They're committed, professional, and versatile. They're your quality leader in Northwest Arkansas, skilled craftsmanship. They've got all your glass market needs with the highest quality products. Again, bentonvilleglass.com. SEC standings going into this game tonight. Florida is 2 games up on Arkansas and Alabama. Tennessee got beat last night.
Yep, lost at Missouri. That's a huge win for Missouri.
I think by association, it makes what Arkansas did to Missouri on Saturday look that much better. I know Missouri had to come here and play the game, and we'll see how it goes when Arkansas goes up there to Columbia in a couple of weeks. But so Tennessee, they've fallen a half game back of Arkansas and Alabama now for second place in the SEC. Florida, like we said, 2 games up. The games tonight, Florida at Texas. Want to talk about that one here in just a minute. That's actually, there's a doubleheader on ESPN2 tonight. It's Florida and Texas, and then Arkansas at A&M. The other games tonight, Georgia.
The forsaken 8 p.m. tip.
Yeah, well, it could be 9, like at Vanderbilt last year.
That was a crime.
Or, hey, you got to get yourself ready. SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, there's no telling what you're going to be dealing with.
You're going to be tipping at midnight.
You very well could be. You get sent out to like Spokane or something for your first round game, and then you get the
Portland is the
the late game, and hey, it's only 7:00 here in Spokane, but it's 9:00
it's
back
9
home.
o'clock on my clock, yeah.
And the game before you just went to double overtime.
I'm actually kind of hoping it's Portland that they go to, because then I could scratch off Oregon on my little scratch off map I've got in my room. That's a side plot, but
yeah, a lot to get to before we get to that point. Georgia is at Vanderbilt tonight. Mississippi State is at Alabama. LSU is at Ole Miss. I want to talk about this Florida-Texas game for a second, because Texas is good. You go back here to the SEC standings. Texas, they're not really in the thick of it anymore. They're 8-6 after they lost the other day, but they're at home. They're a capable team. I think Sean Miller's a heck of a coach.
Yeah,
and you got Florida on the back end of a 2-game road swing. Like, that's always the game I feel like is the one worth really watching.
It's tricky, yeah.
They went to Ole Miss. They handled business in Oxford the other day. Maybe you're just dreaming that maybe Arkansas can get back into this like have a chance to go to Gainesville. If Florida were to lose to Texas tonight and Arkansas were to beat A&M tonight, then Arkansas goes to Gainesville on Saturday. Game day is in town, and you got a chance for that to be the SEC lead is on the line. Now, Alabama's a fly in the ointment here too, because they're in the discussion. But like, there is a path here where you could say Arkansas goes to Florida on Saturday with first place on the line. Yeah, no, it's an interesting race. I mean, obviously all the teams need to take care of business, and for that scenario to come into play. But yeah, it's going to be. Alabama goes to Tennessee on Saturday, by the way. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun games coming up, and yeah, it's a fun one to monitor. I mean, Florida at Texas is probably the game. Well, yeah, probably the game of the night, right? I mean, I would say Texas, that one or A&M Arkansas. Yeah, Texas is. I mean, bubble-ish kind of. I mean, they're right now. Yeah, bubble-ish. I mean, they're in the field right now. Yeah. Isn't that the bubble gum? Bubblicious? I think so. I think it is. Texas is probably in the field right now, but there's still maybe some work to do to feel really good about Texas being in. So, I mean, Texas beats Florida, then I mean, you're probably looking at almost lock status. I mean, you don't want to go out and lose to Oklahoma on the last day of the season, or drop another game to A&M like they did earlier in the season. And obviously Arkansas has to host Texas as well. So, Texas isn't a lock right now by any means, but, it's in a decent spot. But the point, they're desperate. Yes, yeah. And they've got a chance to win a game tonight at home. There's a big scalp on campus. I mean, you beat Florida? That's a huge deal. Yeah. That's a huge deal for your tournament resume. That's probably what's keeping Auburn in the tournament right now, is that win over Florida. Yeah. Which, I mean, we can talk about Auburn. I mean, maybe Missouri's helped its cause too, but beating Florida is a big feather in its cap. It is. And, I mean, I'll be fully honest in saying I don't think Auburn should be in the tournament. I think 13 losses is too many. I think the rest of the season's going to tell you all you need to know about Auburn. Yeah, I mean, they lost last night. That's a bad loss to OU. Oklahoma. And I know it's like quad 2 or whatever, but like there has to be something. And we can, yeah. I don't need to air my grievances on the selection process right now, but yeah, I mean, they've got the number 1 strength of schedule in the country, but like at what point does getting blown out by Arizona and Michigan not matter, and winning games matters more? So like, yeah, I respect the schedule, but you've also lost, 5 of 6, 6 of 7, and probably should have lost that Kentucky game because that was a bad call there at the end. So, and Mark Pope got fined for it. The comments, which I kind of found. Have I told you? I think I have told you this. My theory on this. I think he said that knowing that it would be heard. Yeah. So the way it's set up at Auburn, like the visiting locker room is right there behind the media room. So like everybody can hear it. Like I'm sure. Yeah. I think
I think you're
I
pretty
think
spot on
he
in that
knows.
analysis.
I think
Yeah.
he knows.
No, yeah, I couldn't blame him for being upset because that was a bad call.
Can we talk about this for a
So-
second? I actually, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. I think if I would have told myself 5 years ago that I was going to make this kind of comment, I would have said I'm crazy. But I am all for these coaches going scorched earth on the officiating in their press conferences. Like what
did you see Doug Gottlieb?
What Doug Gottlieb did was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was excellent. I know he got suspended for a game and he got fined. Whatever. He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Mark Pope, he
You'll
gets
take it, yeah.
Like I think what college basketball needs is more of these coaches
More
to go
personalities,
scorched earth.
yeah.
Hold on. They need to go scorched earth and have these viral social media moments to where there are so many of them about officiating that the conference offices have no choice but to actually go out and really attempt to do something about the problem that they have with their officials.
Yeah.
The game, like you cannot tell me that there are not competent enough officials that you can put together competent 3-man crews for every conference game, at least at a major conference level.
Yeah,
you can't tell me that doesn't happen. And if the problem is officials who have called more games than anybody has ever suited up in one team's uniform, and if they're the problem, then get them out of the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like let a new generation of game officials come in and do this thing the right way.
Yeah. And
Because I think that's part of the problem is you've got certain officials that have just kind of it's like, oh well, that's just how is Teddy Valentine, is he still an official or did he retire?
That's a great question.
But it's like he had his reputation, or Doug Shouse, he's got the reputation, or there's a handful of these guys. Like if you've got a reputation as an official, you need to get out. Need to get out of that line of work.
Yeah.
You need to be like we don't need to know your name other than these 3 names we see at the very bottom of the box score at the end.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And it's no,
I'm all
you're
for
right on that. And
I'm
then
all for coaches doing
there
this. There's too many coaches that are afraid. I'm going to get fined. Man, you make $7-8 million. You can afford to lose $25,000, and if you can't afford to lose it, I guarantee you that your fan base will come in and you can get a grassroots GoFundMe going, and they'll take care of your $25,000 fine.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth in that, and then there's obviously a responsibility on the conference office. I had seen this, in the mid-major level. The Missouri Valley has actually done a really good job of, looking at the officiating and trying to get improved officiating in the league and in conference games. And it's I mean, obviously there's always going to be people having issues with calls that officials make, but this year in particular, there hasn't been as many big problems, and I don't know exactly how it works. I don't make officiating calls, but I know they've increased the official staff pool or salary pool for getting and going out and getting better officials for games and stuff like that. So maybe the Missouri Valley is like a place to look at, but I mean. Yeah, I don't know.
I just want consistency from officiating.
Oh yeah,
I want the first half.
Does.
I want the first half of play to look like the second half of play. If you're going to let them play in the first half, let them play in the second half. Let's not let them play in the first half and then blow the whistle 40 times after halftime.
God.
Let's not have officials who have who at least it appears outwardly have a vendetta against a head coach, and it's like, I'm going to show you who the boss is tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I feel like we see way too much in college basketball.
I want
more
to be
so
in
than
the press
any other
conference.
sport.
I want to be in this press conference by 10:30 tonight. Can we make that happen?
Well, I think Calipari wants to be to bed by 11, so he'll do his best.
That'll be.
That's all. That always humors me. Can I go? I'd like to be in bed by midnight tonight. Maybe 11.
And then I always
11 might be a little ambitious for an 8 o'clock tip off.
That'll be me, just like, I got one more for you, and then he'll look and just be like,
yeah.
He's pretty gracious.
Usually, how that goes is he's like he's like pushing himself up from the table, and then he'll sit back down,
and then he'll see
he'll
see one
doing
of us
something with
the
his
mic,
hands,
and it'll just be like, but He's typically very gracious with his time, so I've got no complaints.
He more so than any coach I've ever seen. It's like if there's any pause at all, okay, thank you.
Yep.
And he's gone. I mean, he cuts that thing off whenever like there is no time to breathe.
There was one pause after the Alabama game that he's like, anything else? And then there was like a pause, and he just sat there and he's like, wow, this is great. And it's just like waiting for another question.
Like the plane must have been delayed that night.
Maybe so.
When he's ready to go, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
Again, Arkansas A&M tonight, 8:00 tip-off on ESPN2. Anthony will be there. Ethan will be there. We're going to have a lot of coverage there at wholehogsports.com. Arkansas baseball against Arkansas State this afternoon. We'll be covering that on our website, too. Bubba Carpenter will be in studio tomorrow. We'll talk about Razorback baseball and the upcoming series against UT Arlington and what we saw here in the midweek against Arkansas State. Hope to see you then or at our website, wholehogsports.com.